when 18-year-old Mia Johnson moved to Maplewood, a small and quiet town nestled deep in the countryside. She thought her life was over. Her parents' sudden decision to leave the bustling city of Chicago after her dad's job transfer wasn't exactly her idea of exciting. Maplewood had one school, one diner, and a single movie theater that only played old films on weekends. The biggest buzz around town? The mysterious, decrepit house on Ridge Street. "That place is cursed," said Ryan, one of Mia's classmates, when she asked about it during lunch. "It's been abandoned for years. No one knows who owns it anymore." "People say it's haunted," chimed in Emma, a bubbly girl who had befriended Mia on her first day. "My older brother swears he saw someone or something in one of the windows late at night." Mia raised an eyebrow, trying to play it cool. "Oh, come on. A haunted house? You guys are messing with me, right?" But they weren't. Everyone in Maplewood had their own version of the Ridge Street house legend. Some said a reclusive old woman had lived there until she mysteriously disappeared. Others claimed to have heard strange noises, footsteps, whispers, even crying, coming from the house after dark. Most people avoided the place entirely. Mia, however, was intrigued. Maybe it was her city girl skepticism, or maybe it was just boredom, but the idea of a haunted house seemed more thrilling than anything else in Maplewood. The first time Mia saw the house up close was on a chilly October evening. The sun had dipped below the horizon, leaving the sky streaked with deep purples and oranges. She had been wandering the neighborhood, trying to clear her head after yet another argument with her parents about how she needed to adjust. The house loomed at the end of Ridge Street, partially hidden by overgrown trees and tangled vines. Its once white paint was now peeling, revealing the rotting wood beneath. Shattered windows gaped like empty eyes, and the front porch sagged under the weight of years of neglect. A rusted gate hung open, creaking faintly in the breeze. Mia hesitated. The air seemed colder here, and the silence was almost oppressive. Still, her curiosity got the better of her. She stepped closer, peering through the gate. Was it just her imagination, or did one of the curtains in the upstairs window move? The next day at school, Mia couldn't stop thinking about the house. When she mentioned it to Emma and Ryan, they exchanged nervous glances. "You didn't go inside, did you?" Emma asked, wide-eyed. "No, of course not," Mia replied. "But I'm thinking about it." "You're crazy," Ryan said. "No one goes in there. People who do, well, let's just say they don't come out the same." Mia laughed, but Ryan's tone was dead serious. "What? Are you saying it's cursed or something?" "I'm saying it's not worth the risk." But Mia's mind was made up. That weekend, armed with nothing but her phone and a flashlight, she decided to see what all the fuss was about. It was nearly midnight when Mia approached the house again. The full moon cast an eerie glow over the property, making the shadows seem to dance. Her heart pounded as she pushed open the creaky gate and stepped onto the overgrown path leading to the front door. The door was slightly ajar, as if inviting her in. Mia hesitated, her flashlight trembling in her hand. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. The air inside the house was damp and musty, carrying the scent of decay. Her footsteps echoed on the warped wooden floors as she swept her flashlight around the room. The living room was filled with dust-covered furniture and cobwebs draped from the ceiling like curtains. Faded photographs hung crookedly on the walls, their subjects' faces blurred with time. Mia moved cautiously, her pulse quickening with every creak of the floorboards. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. As she passed a cracked mirror, she thought she saw movement behind her. Whipping around, she found nothing but empty space. "It's just an old house," she whispered to herself. "There's nothing here." But then she heard it, a faint rhythmic tapping sound coming from upstairs. Her breath caught in her throat. Every rational part of her mind screamed at her to leave, but her legs carried her toward the staircase. The stairs groaned under her weight as she ascended, the tapping sound growing louder with each step. It led her to a door at the end of the hallway. The doorknob was ice cold under her fingers as she turned it. The room was empty, save for an old rocking chair by the window. It swayed gently, as if someone had just been sitting in it. Mia's flashlight flickered, casting erratic shadows on the walls. "Hello?" she called out, her voice trembling. No answer, just the creak of the rocking chair. As she stepped closer, she noticed something on the floor, a crumpled piece of paper. She picked it up and unfolded it, revealing a child's drawing. It depicted a family of 3 standing in front of the house. The father and mother smiled, but the child's face was smeared with red crayon, as if angrily scribbled out. A chill ran down her spine. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind her. Mia spun around, her flashlight dropping to the floor and plunging the room into darkness. "Who's there?" she demanded, her voice cracking. Silence. Then, faintly, the sound of a child's laughter echoed through the room. Mia scrambled to pick up her flashlight, its beam flickering as she swung it wildly around the room. The rocking chair was still swaying, but now there was something sitting in it. A doll, its porcelain face cracked and one glassy eye missing, stared back at her. Heart pounding, Mia backed toward the door, fumbling with the doorknob. It wouldn't budge. She was trapped. "Let me out!" she shouted, pounding on the door. The laughter grew louder, accompanied by a faint whispering that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The air grew colder, and Mia could see her breath in the dim light. In a desperate attempt to escape, she threw herself against the door. It burst open, and she stumbled into the hallway, nearly tripping over her own feet. Without looking back, she ran down the stairs and out of the house, not stopping until she was safely back on the street. Mia didn't tell anyone what had happened that night. She deleted the photos she'd taken in the house and tried to convince herself it was just her imagination. But the nightmares persisted. She dreamed of the rocking chair, the doll, and the child's laughter echoing in her ears. A few weeks later, Mia was walking home from school when she passed by the house again. To her shock, the front door was no longer ajar. It was wide open, and the rocking chair was visible through the window, swaying gently as if beckoning her to return. She never went back. Years later, long after Mia had moved away from Maplewood, she stumbled across a news article about the house on Ridge Street. It had been demolished to make way for a new housing development. The article mentioned the rumors of hauntings, but dismissed them as local folklore. Mia closed her laptop and leaned back in her chair, her heart racing. She couldn't shake the feeling that some things were better left unexplored. The memories of that night still haunted her, and she knew they always would. Yet some nights she would wake up in a cold sweat, certain she could hear faint laughter echoing in her room. And sometimes, just sometimes, she swore she saw the rocking chair in the corner of her room swaying gently, even though there was no breeze. She would blink, and it would be gone, but the chill in the air would linger, reminding her that some shadows never truly fade.